Welcome to the April edition of the Appalachia Inshore Fishing Report. I'm Captain Jay Carson. This is Captain Evan Snow. We are here in the Tracker Boating Center in Tallahassee at the Tracker Boating Center shop, as well as Bass Pro Shops in Tallahassee. As always, we want to thank them for letting us come up here and do this. Evan, a lot has changed since we were together last, and I guess it was mid-February is when we recorded the last episode, and things have changed a little bit since then, not just fishing-wise.
Yeah, it's been about 6 weeks since we've done this. We did last month a little early, and it's went from last report we did. It was good and cold outside, maybe in the 30s that morning, to feels like summer out here now.
Yeah, we've had so many consecutive days of mid 80s temperatures, and the water temperature just hit 80 degrees. So we're actually, I feel like we're getting into some basically summertime fishing right now.
Yeah, for sure. What's the date? What's the date today?
Today is, that's a good question. Today is the 26th of March. So
it's the 26th of March. I was on the water yesterday, and in close, to shoreline, I saw a water temp of 81 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, that's unusual for March. We went from like cold to hot with no transition, almost, just about.
Yeah, I mean, we had about 2 weeks of spring pattern here. I guess technically it's obviously still a spring pattern, but it's really more like a May than a March right now.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do think, though, looking at the long range forecast, I think there's some slightly cooler air coming, so maybe that'll cool off the water temperatures a little bit and hold off the summer heat a little bit longer anyway.
Right. So obviously you're starting to see some migrators show up on the flats.
Yeah, you're catching a lot of Spanish when you've been catching your trout here lately.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll talk about it a little bit, but I had to move out onto the flats, deeper actually onto the flats, and we're out there trout fishing. We are picking up some Spanish. We've seen some different things, bunch of bluefish. I've actually had to pick up my leader. I've been throwing a lot of 20-pound fluorocarbon. I've upped it to 30 because I was getting cut a lot. So. That's one change we've had to make, not only, where we're fishing, but how we're fishing and the gear we're using and the precautions we take for the toothy fish, so lose too many lures.
Yeah, and, also we're going to start seeing some of those migratory fish come through, not besides Spanish, but like I'm hearing some reports of Sacobia showing up. I haven't caught any personally or seen any personally, but I've talked to people that have seen them and caught them. So they're starting to show up with these warmer water temperatures, and then some of those other, pelagic fish are coming through. So be on the lookout for those, I think, as we kind of move forward.
Right, the flounder are moving more inshore. We're catching more flounder. The triple tail will probably show up, if not already.
Yeah.
And so it's full on spring pattern now. It seems like in a matter of a couple weeks the fish move from being stacked up in spots really in close. Well, I say the fish, the redfish have moved too, but the trout especially went from being stacked up along the shoreline to really spread out along the deeper flats.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We went from I was running a couple trips where I didn't have to move for several hours, and I could just catch trout pretty steadily, and now, like you said, they're real scattered out, so you got to cover a little bit of water to catch fish.
Yeah,
to catch good numbers.
We're catching fish. We're just doing long drifts out there, anywhere from 6 to 3 feet of water, depending on the tide and everything. But I've been fishing as deep as 6 feet of water, and just doing a bunch of long drifts, and they're not as bunched up. You're catching them more sporadically, but there's plenty of fish out there and biting. I mean, you're still finding some fish. And another thing is and I guess I could say we've been throwing a bunch of jigs and stuff. Like, I haven't been throwing as many hard lures as I was probably last time we talked to you guys. And I'm not quite to the point where I'm throwing a ton of corks. I mean, we are catching some fish on the corks, but I just have people who prefer to throw a cork. But I think the preferred method, if you're going to go out this weekend and target them, I'd bump some soft plastics off the bottom, whether it be shrimp imitation, whether it be a paddle tail, or jerk shad. I'd rig up probably an 1/8 ounce jig head, bounce around. You're going to pick up some trout, probably going to catch a couple Spanish and bluefish, and and maybe some rock bass and possibly even a flounder. It's that time of year.
So you can get a good mixed bag going doing that.
Right. Yeah. This is the time of year where you can really catch a bunch of different species out there on the flats.
Yeah, for sure. So that's trout. Let's talk a little bit about redfish. I'll just talk about what I've been seeing. Mainly, I've been staying in really shallow water here the last few weeks, and we got some big fish in some shallow water. It's a great time. If you've ever sight fished before, it's a great time to push up in there shallow and look for some fish. You've been catching them a little bit deeper, right? Or just drifting through some areas that have been holding some fish?
Well, I would say you and I are fishing the same areas.
We're fishing different times.
Different tides.
Right.
The fish are pushed out onto the flats a little more. I mean, I'm sure there's some redfish still hanging in some creeks and stuff, and some creek mouths and maybe some oyster bars, but I've mostly been targeting them on the flats, and then like Jay said, they're out there roaming around in small schools right now. So where you're pulling around looking for them and seeing them tailing and stuff on those low tides.
Right.
I'm coming in those same areas on high tide and drifting through, and it's really not. You don't have anything to hold them there like rocks or oyster bars or anything. You're not targeting structure. You just got to target an area that you've just basically know they've been using, and the only really way to know that is just to fish and get out there and look and see. And so, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, but as you fish more towards our, I guess, western regions, like Ecofina, Osceola, St. Mark's, and things like that. Panacea. Then you're still going to find fish on structure. Evan's talking specifically, out of Keaton Beach, where we have just big grass flats.
That's where we've been a ton here.
We've both been down that way, and like you said, we're finding those fish out there on those grass flats. They're not really holding to structure, but they're just kind of out in general areas. And if you can locate one of those areas, they've been pretty consistent as far as staying, in that area for several days. But, as you move further west towards St. Mark's or Panacea area, the high tides around structure is always going to produce fish. Throwing top waters and search baits, spoons and spinner baits and things like that is working really well over that way.
Yeah, I guess I should have clarified that.
Yes.
But I'm just kind of drifting flats, shallow flats, so I know, and they're in small schools, so when you hit one, you're usually getting, if you got a couple people fishing, you're getting 2 or 3 bites real quick.
Right.
And then usually the what we've been seeing is other fish are following the fish you got hooked in, then they're dispersing.
Right, you bump them, and then you got to find them again or move on.
Find them again, and so it's like bam, bam when you get into them, and it's just, So it's not an exact thing what we've been doing. Now there are going to be some fish holding. I was at Icofina, a few weeks ago, and we were finding large numbers of fish on the outgoing stacked up on bars, which, by the way,
you can't launch at right now.
You can't go to Icofina right now.
Yeah, so if you want to access that, you're going to have to launch at either Osceola or the Finn Holloway River. The upper ramp is still open.
Yeah.
So if you want to access that stretch of coastline.
Or Hickory Mound, I believe Hickory Mound.
Yeah, Hickory Mound's open, but it's very tide dependent, and you got to have a relatively small boat to get in and out of there. So
I guess we can just take a bit of a diversion and talk about that for a minute. So if you don't already know, it's a big topic on Facebook and everything. It's a boat ramp situation. That's going to be something day to day.
Right.
We're going to have to monitor.
Taylor County just had a meeting yesterday where they decided to keep all county ramps open. So if you're fishing Taylor County, all the county ramps are open, and they're going to continue to stay open, I guess, until
something changes, which could be tomorrow, which they could stay open, for the duration.
Right.
We don't know. These are uncertain times. As far as we know, Wakulla and Franklin County ramps are remaining open.
Yep. But obviously, if it's a state park, if you launch at a state park, that's going to be closed. I think the lighthouse and the fort are still open. I'm not 100% sure on that, so you may want to check in that.
I think as of like a day ago, the lighthouse was open, but all the visitor center and stuff was shut down.
Right.
The fort, I think, like I said, we've been in Taylor County mostly here lately. I haven't been over. I heard, even far reaches western, when you get into Bay County and Okaloosa and stuff like that, they've shut those down over there.
The beaches are closed, like Wakulla Beach or the
Shell Point Beach, Wakulla Beach, even Keaton Beach as of last night are all closed. Any kind of public parks, any kind of state parks. So even, Icofina is a state park, and then you got the state park probably on Cape Sandblast, I imagine, would be shut down. The ramp would be shut down there.
So, you know, if you're planning on getting out, just double check, find out, you know, if where you're trying to go is open for sure. But being out on the water is a great way right now to get out of the house and go fishing
and you know, we're using precautions and use precautions when you go travel in. You know, try not to touch
everything,
anything from, you know, rails at the boat ramp to bathrooms, and sanitize, and, you know, gas pumps and all that. Just, you know, just be aware.
Absolutely.
You know? I'm not saying to, you know, just live your life, but, you know, just be aware and what's going on and everything. That's what we're doing. I'm sanitizing everybody when they get on the boat. And I've been mixing bleach in with the soap and, you know, cleaning the boat out with bleach between trips and stuff like that. Just taking some extra precautions. We are running right now.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're gonna just real quickly before we take off, we got a couple pictures we want to feature here. Evan's got a picture you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of taking Rick and Carol Murgo out from Thomasville, and it was the first time ever out on the flats and saltwater in general, I believe. And Carol caught this nice 21-inch trout just out on, we were just drifting out on some nice flats and about, you know, 3-4 feet of water, just bouncing, I think, a paddle tail off the bottom, and she got this one, so we were pretty excited to see her catch a nice fish like this on her first time.
Very cool, absolutely. And the picture I want to show is a really nice redfish that Jordan Stauffer caught with me this past week. We were pulling along in about a foot of water, and this fish started tailing, and he made a really great cast. We were fishing a Slayer Inc. paddle tail, and this fish turned on it, and he did a great job bringing this fish to the boat. It was 31.5 inches, really nice redfish, and about a foot of water. So it's he was really excited, and we were all pretty pumped about that fish.
It's a good fish.
That is a nice fish. It's a really nice fish.
You know, we get
especially in that shallow water. Really cool.
You know, we get the bulls down here, but we don't. You know, 30 inches still down here is a really good fish. 30+ inches, even though you will catch one up to 40 every now and then.
He was really pumped.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that about wraps us up. We want to thank Tallahassee Tracker Boating Center and Bass Pro Shops for having us up here. Guys, if you're out and about, you know, make sure you stay safe.
Keep your germs to yourself.
Keep your germs to yourself. We'll be out on the water. We hope to see you guys get a chance to get out there. I'm Captain Jay Carson, Captain Evan Snow, and you can find us both on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to go fishing, now's a great time to do it. The weather's phenomenal. We're catching a lot of fish.
We're still running trips.
Still running trips. So you know, if you've got the itch and you want to get out there for a day, give one of us a call and we can put you on some fish. You got any last thing you want to say before we head out?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, until next time, we'll see you, and then we'll hope to catch you in May.